When Notre Dame's new defensive coordinator, Mike Elko, was hired, Brian Kelly told him he could hire his own defensive staff. One of those hires is the man who coached linebackers for Elko at Wake Forest last season, Clark Lee. Lee and Elko also worked together at Bowling Green, and Lee has also coached at Syracuse and UCLA. At UCLA, Clark coached All-American Akeem Ayers and has coached a total of 10 All-Conference selections in his 11 seasons as a college coach. Lee is a graduate of Vanderbilt University, where he earned 3 letters in football and was also a 2-time All-SEC academic team pick while earning his bachelor's and master's degrees in political science. Coach Lee also told UND.com that growing up, Notre Dame was his dream school. So we are delighted to be able to welcome Clark Lee to his dream school and his first appearance on the Jack Swarbrick Show.
We certainly are glad to welcome you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate it. So how does a political science major from Vanderbilt become a football coach?
You know, I think it's interesting because there's not a lot of carryover, I don't think, in writing, theory papers on theory and research and statistical analysis and all that kind of stuff. However, I was influenced in my development in high school and then in college by the men who coached me. Outside of my family, those were the greatest influencers I had, and I learned the lessons of deferred gratification through my work in the weight room and working for something that you want and actually earning it. Those are values and lessons I learned playing football, and so there was a big part of me that when choosing a vocation, wanted to do something where I could maybe provide the same experience for young people. And so that was what kind of led me into the business, or I guess that validated my decision. I think what led me into it was the competitive drive and the want to be a part of a team, and win. So,
of those influencers, who are the coaches that stand out along the journey?
Well, I'd have to go back to high school.
Right.
Ricky Bowers was my head coach in high school. Jamie Redmond was our strength coach. Those two guys, the head coach always is a big part of the influence because he holds the keys to the car. I mean, you want to play, and so you better learn to please and learn what his expectations are and meet them. Jamie Redmond was the strength coach is the guy that's working with you every day, and so you allow him into your life to push you to a new level, and he did that. We trained hard in high school, and that was the only reason we were able to find success. And I think along the way, out of high school, I played baseball for 2 years.
Right.
Played for Brian Shoup at Birmingham Southern, won a national championship at the NAIA level. Coach Shoup was detailed and organized and cared for us and introduced a spiritual component to our development, which was appreciated and added depth and value to my experience there. And Dave Jarvis at Belmont, he's the one that really allowed me to go pursue football, because I went and saw him and explained to him how I missed the game and felt like that maybe I was called to pursue it. And he said to me, "You only get 4 years. You better do what you want." And really appreciated his willingness to kind of let me go and cast me off that way. And then at Vandy, Bobby Johnson, the head coach there, was, a guy. We won 6 games in 3 years. It was excruciating as a competitor. Coach Johnson never changed. Never once came in and blamed us. Never once came in and flipped over tables or threw chairs or yelled and screamed. It was a process-oriented operation, and always respected that about him. The ability to kind of control the emotional part of things as we built towards something he had a vision for. And within that group, the strength coach there, John Sisk, was still is a great mentor to me. I mean, those guys were phenomenal. And at Vandy, we were coached hard, but we weren't cussed at. In fact, ESPN did a segment on us back then where we weren't allowed to use profanity on the field. These men cared about us and held us accountable, but did it without taking our dignity, and allowed us to maintain a level of respect on the field while growing, and always just appreciated that.
Very accomplished in at least 2 sports. There may be more, baseball and football. What you said you felt a calling to get back into football. You'd missed it. Why? What was it about it that, as opposed to being in single A ball somewhere?
I think truthfully, to say that I was accomplished in both sports is a little funny to me, because I think I was a try-hard player that maximized and was able to to participate at a high level, but certainly never quite turned the corner to be an elite player by any stretch of the imagination. Football is just the ultimate test, in my opinion. It's the ultimate team environment. When you think about football, you think about you're only as strong as your weakest link. And to be a part of that kind of, family, it's just an incredible experience. And I think in a lot of ways, when you're going through it, you can't help but dream about a time when you're not waking up at 6 a.m. and going through hard workouts and, just the doldrums of fall camp and the repetition and just the two-a-days and all those things that make it difficult. You kind of dream about the time when you're not participating in them. And then when you leave them, you miss them like crazy. And you realize that it's that part of the experience that makes it special. And so I think in a lot of ways, that was certainly part of it, missing that environment. At the end of the day, there's only one sport that I know of where you're, that we played in Nashville, Tennessee, at least, where you're putting pads on, strapping up, putting a helmet on, and going to battle. And it's just a special experience.
Yeah. What'd you play in baseball? What was your position?
I was a catcher.
All right.
So maybe the most football-like position on the field, I'd say. So.
Still a rocket arm?
I do, actually, yeah. The linebackers here will figure that out somewhere in the first few days of spring practice, but I like to show that off. It's as the body deteriorates, I try to keep that sharp, so I still have a little something left in the tank.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. You've had, like all coaches, you've had a number of stops along the way. What's the challenge when you come into a new environment each time? You've got some practice at it now, right? How do you approach it? What are you looking for? There's
so many layers to that. I think personally, the challenge is, the family balance and the relocation is always difficult. And it's not just me. You start making decisions for, your family, your wife and kids, and bringing them along and making sure they're on board. And that's an important piece of it. I think another important piece is the program you leave. That's incredibly difficult, and it has never been easy for me. Even in situations where the head coach was let go and we knew we'd be looking for jobs, never been easy to pull away from a group of young men that you recruited and that you coached. And that relationship, when done properly, is incredibly close. And so it's hard sometimes to say goodbye, and you just hope in some way, shape, or form, you're leaving a program better than you found it in some little way, or you're leaving the kid, the player, with something, an experience that he can build on and grow from. And it's important for me in those aspects to stay in touch with the players I coached, because I want to see them through in whatever way I can their time in college, and then hopefully share in some of the successes that they will have moving forward on and off the field. But coming into a new job, I think the first thing and the most important thing, to be honest, is starting to grow a relationship with the players here. And I think that takes a lot of time, but it takes time spent on things that aren't football related. Mm-hmm. People want to be cared for. They want to have someone that will build into their life. And I'm no different than my players in that respect. And so the conversations early, obviously the players always want to talk football, which I love. I love the fact that they're hungry and they want to get after it and learn what they're going to be asked to do. But I think the most important conversations are one where we kind of put our feet up on the desk and just chit-chat about who they are and where they're from. And that allows me to share a little bit of who I am and where I'm from. And sometimes those two places are completely different. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't make them good or bad. We can kind of meet in the middle and talk about the same underlying values that drove us to the same point. And that kind of starts a bigger picture conversation with them that I think leads to trust. And once you have trust, I think you have access to coach. Until you have trust, you're just another person directing them to do something. And I think so that part of the transition probably is most important. And maybe before that, it's making sure you know where the coffee is in the office.
And whether it's any good.
That's right.
You started in that discussion with the most important element of it when you spoke about bringing your family along. Introduce us to your family.
So my wife Allison, I met, and you talk about the journey of coaching. I met Allison when I took my first full-time job at South Dakota State. And so she's from Ipswich, South Dakota. It's a town of about 900 people just west of Aberdeen. And I know that that's going to fall on deaf ears because not very many people have been west of Aberdeen.
I know the Aberdeen in Scotland better than I do that one. But.
So I met her when I went to South Dakota, and it was just one of those things where you really feel like you were led someplace. And so I kind of courted her through being a young coach, and at South Dakota State, you're driving when you recruit, and so I'm driving to the far side of Iowa for 9 hours, and I'm gone a bunch. And she was willing to jump on board, and so we then moved to Los Angeles. So from South Dakota to LA is a drastic change, and weathered that. And then the move from LA to Bowling Green. In Bowling Green, we had our son, Clark, the third, C3. And so he was born in Northwest Ohio. And then in Syracuse, we had our daughter, Mara, and she's 20 months. And then we have one on the way due in August. So my wife has her hands full right now in North Carolina, and they're going to be coming out in a couple weeks. So I can't wait to get them here. Yeah,
well, now you got to, as they always say, you can't play man-to-man anymore.
That's
You're
right.
going to have to go zone.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know a thing or two about zone defense, but as I've learned, good coaching doesn't equate to good parenting, so we got some work to do, but we'll be all right.
Yeah. So obviously you had a choice to make when this opportunity came along. You were in a great position where you were, and I know how eager they were to have you stay there. What about this opportunity caused you to think it was the right one to make?
You always want, when you make big decisions, to have black and white clarity. And I think this time, this move, I finally realized that clarity is never quite going to come. There's always good reasons to stay and good reasons to go. At the end of the day, truthfully, I've got a great respect for Mike Elko, and trust him and love working with him, and believe that every day that I'm with him, I'm growing as a coach and growing towards a vision I have for myself and my career. But I would say even above that, don't tell Mike. I wanted to work at Notre Dame. I wanted to come here and have a go at winning a national championship and be a part of a program that's achieved such great excellence in history and yet still has maintained a standard and is the standard in a lot of ways. I wanted to work at a place where you could play in front of 80,000 people on Saturday and go to class and get an elite education. And to me, those are elements that are so unique and special to Notre Dame. And so as I was, tussling with the decision, I really had to kind of beat back some of the peripheral things and focus on what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was come be a part of something special here. And, I've not been let down in my first couple months. I mean, this is a very, very special place. So,
what's been the biggest surprise?
Getting to know Coach Kelly, I think has been a lot of fun for me. I enjoy his personality. You never know coming into things just how much of a family man he is and how engaged he is with our team. That's been fun to be a part of. But truthfully, the biggest surprise has been I underestimated just how much people care about Notre Dame football nationally. I knew that they were going to be fans in the stands on Saturdays. I had no idea that as I was walking through the airport, sometimes running, depending on how quick the turnaround was, that the number of people that came up to me and wished me well, gave me high fives. I'm sure there were some at times because it is a polarizing place. I think a little bit.
Yeah.
Some that weren't feeling that way, but it was neat. The attention was neat because again, it's just you want to be a part of something special. So.
Well, we're thrilled to have you on board, and we're confident you will help to continue to build something special here. Thanks for all you've done in a short period of time you've been here, and all you will continue to do to have the same influence on these young men that those coaches who ultimately drew you into coaching had on you. Thanks so much.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
All right, Clark, thanks. We'll be back in a minute.